Yeah, I was thinking about these things for a long time, and I have to admit, I haven't heard of the word nescience before. I was somehow just thinking, what's the opposite of ignorance, but I couldn't figure it out. The context of not knowing, nescience, from the Latin verb nesciere, to not know because knowledge was absent or unattainable. Ignorance, from the Latin verb ignorare, to not know, even though necessary information is present, because that information has been willfully refused or disregarded. So, if you are confronted with this kind of ignorance, the person you are dealing with might quite likely be an idiot. The reason for the person being an idiot, there can be many. Maybe he's just defending his own dogmatic science branch where he is in, or he just wants to continue to live in its own life bubble, which is self constructed perception of its own reality, which doesn't really correlate with the real reality. And if you start to talk about climate change with people, and if you try to tell them some planetary facts, for example, the sun cycles, for example, and all these kind of things, they probably don't want to hear. Or if you tell people that, did you know last year, 21st of December, the first two planets of our solar system, they shifted into the age of Aquarius, which basically means the age of Pisces is over. Jesus was representing the age of Pisces. That's why he brought the fishes. The big cycles, like there are also 12 zodiacal signs, 2,150 years approximately per sign. The big wheel is continuing to turn. Doesn't matter what human or humankind thinks about that, because we cannot influence the movements of celestial bodies or whole celestial systems, or we cannot fight against celestial forces, universal forces. We just can't. We can try to understand them, which might help to adjust one's mind according to it. Two facts. First of all, you are not changing the environment. I'm talking a bigger scale, planetary sized, not your apartment or working place. The environment, we are all, each of one, everyone. Doesn't matter, rich or poor. Where are you living? You are in this. We are all in this together. There's no humans living on other planets still. Might never happen. So the other thing is, if you understand that you are a really, really, really tiny part of the whole. So if you start to fight against that, you might get frustrated. you might discover the meaningless of it, the waste of energy, what you're trying to put to fight against things. And one thing is also like what I was talking earlier once in a previous video, how it doesn't need any education in order to get over science in meanings of uh, rule something or someone, institutions or whatever, agendas. Because if you get a politician, if you get chosen by the people, which usually happens through using a big amount of money to make commercials of you, then you are representing some party or a color. And after that, you are above science because you can decide which university gets how much money and all these kind of things. How much money goes into educational systems overall, how much money goes to hospitals, to street reparation, and all these kind of things. Without any education, nothing. You don't need to qualify to get to be a politician. If you want to drive a car, you have to make a driving school and you pay for it, and then you get tested that you are really able to drive a car. You know the rules. Otherwise, you won't drive. If you do, you get punished. But in order to rule over many things, like politicians usually do, you don't need any education. No one is ever testing you. Like if you are like aware of the situation, are you aware of the situation also in a deeper way? Do you know where we are? Timeline wise, year 2021, about 6,000 years ago, stuff went down. We still tell stories. People die because they have different opinions about those same stories, about those same happenings which happened worldwide. Same petroglyphs are found all over the world. There are pyramids all over the world. Wheels are found everywhere. We share the same past. Everyone. In Finland, we have about 30 different mosquito species. Just mosquitoes. 30 different kinds of. They're all mosquitoes. So whatever, if you think that you are somehow privileged because whatever parameter you are using to that, like if you are like proud of being privileged, let's say whatever like skin color or stuff, or if it emerges later through education. I really wonder about this distinct border between scientists and usual people. I guess they're called laymen or something. I don't know. Shouldn't they be much, much more aware of the whole picture of what's going on than usual people? I mean, if I read this kind of volcanologists' news about, let's say, La Palma, there has been an explosion yesterday in the crater of the volcano. And according to a scientist, it might have been a volcanic explosion. And I thought, yeah, really? There has an explosion in a volcano crater. Might be a volcanic explosion. Okay, you know, it's somehow funny that I think you don't have to be a scientist to figure that out. And no one can blame anyone for making a decision which is based on nescience. If the person who is making a decision just cannot know. But if there's like information and proof provided for something, for let's say a new theory or a new point of watching things, which is fact based, you can show it, watch. If you want to know the mathematics about this, do it. But you don't need maths first. First, you have to do it or see it. It has to happen. If it happens, it's real. If you just figure it out on a paper, put some funny signs there and numbers and lines, and it's really long, no one gets anything about that because there's nothing written there. I'm talking about formulas, mathematical formulas. It's not in existence yet. It's just, there's just like some signs on a paper. They don't mean anything. You don't do really much with those. And yet, so many things are based on these kind of assumptions. If it's possible on a paper, it might be also possible in nature. No, it has to be first in nature, and then you can bring it down to the paper. And this is something like the word nescience. I would put a link below to a short piece from Passio himself when he's explaining these things. And I think this is part of the bigger scale obscurance of knowledge that they don't tell you. If in school, I'd tell it again, fourth grade or fifth grade or whatever, there's 1 hour. And the teacher and the students, they talk about one single word for 1 hour. 1 hour in your whole life. Once. Maybe it just has to made once. They talk about one word, which is idiot. After this hour has been over of education about idiot, what is an idiot? I think it would be really important for people really to understand what it is and what the implications are. And what the difference is between nescience and ignorance. So somehow, science means knowledge that you get to know. So what kind of science is science which is based on dogmas? There are rules, you cannot break those rules, otherwise you don't belong to us anymore. It's an oxymoron that today's science is called science, even though it's really largely infiltrated with ignorance. They don't want to know, even though they have no proof for what they believe in. But it has been believed for so long time, so it might be right. It has to be defended. I leave it here. I forgot what I was talking about. Thanks.